What's going on? How you guys doing? I hope you're having an amazing day. Depending on when you're listening to this, I hope you're having an amazing day. I hope you had an amazing day. And I hope you have an amazing day. And if your day is already going, or you've already spent your day, and if it's not going so well, or it did not go so well, or as good as you would have hoped, well, you have another day. You have tomorrow. I mean, I know everybody says that you have tomorrow, to make a change. You have tomorrow to how the Mother Teresa put it. We only have today, something like that. That one is not about tomorrow. It's more about today. We have today. That is why it is today is a gift. That's why it's called the present or something like that. Anyway, you have another day. You can hope for a better day. I mean, sometimes hope can be something that is reserved for the foolish ones. So, but if you choose to hope, if hope makes you foolish, then you might as well just choose to hope. Because I mean, there's a lot of hopelessness in the world already. There's a load of ah load. There's a lot of seemingly hopeless situations in the world already. You don't want to add to the pie. Maybe you do. Hey, I'm not here to dictate your feelings. I'm only here to tell you that hey, it's okay to feel the way you feel. You had a good day, you had a fantastically great day. You didn't have a not so great day. Maybe Lagos traffic caught up to you. The hustle and bustle culture of Lagos caught up to you, and maybe you caved. Maybe you cracked under pressure. Maybe it's your steez and composure fractured at the worst of moments. Hey, pick your head up, man. Pick your head up, girl. You have tomorrow to make a change. That's not the turn of phrase I was expecting, but hey, we're talking about change today. We're talking about change. Talking about change. So what is change? If you're like me and you became more aware, okay, so if you became more aware of the Nigerian politics, if you grew up in Nigeria, became more aware of politics, you're very familiar, maybe even traumatized by the word change. So I remember it like this. The first time I got got serious about, oh, excuse me, I'm belching a lot. You won't hear it because it's silent. Anyway, the first time I got interested in the polity or the politics of what was happening in my country was around the time of the late President Yaradua. And I, yeah, that was around 2009. Yeah, 2009. I was 6 years old. And then I think a couple months to the end of 2009, he passed away, or in 2010, I really can't remember now. And then former President Goodluck Jonathan took over in 2010 May, and then was properly elected in 2011. You know, why I'm building this up was 4 years later in 2015, we saw a coalition of two parties, which was the Action Congress and CPC. I forgot what CPC means. And two of them came together to form the ruling party, the party that has ruled Nigeria since 2015 now, called the APC, the All Progressives Congress. And their mantra was change, because the Jonathan administration was plagued by so much, for lack of a better word, darkness. There was um, the abduction of the Chibok girls in 2014 from Borno. I was in secondary school then. I was 11. I had a classmate who was from Chibok, and she was just telling me that, oh, Chibok is my village and everything. That's where I'm from. And it's so sad to see what's happened to these girls. Some of the girls, my grandma knew them, knows their family members. It was very, really, really sad time. I mean, some people exploited it for political campaigns and whatnot. And hey, it gave ammunition to the opposition party to say, hey, this guy is supposed to be your what do they call it? What do they call? Is it commander in chief? Yes, supposed to be your commander in chief, and he did not protect you guys. Hey, I'm offering you change. And it was too good. It was definitely too good to be true. It was such a powerful, um, sentimental, emotional. And that's one of the things we should learn. Never operate on, almost never operate on a whim when it comes to politics. Don't operate based on emotions. Yes, people can give rousing speeches, can appeal to you emotionally. At the end of the day, I think this is my opinion. I think that things like politics, you should make political choices and decisions based on logic. Don't ride the emotional wave. It's very easy to, you know, play the chords of someone's heart, get them all twisted and tied up in their knots emotionally. And then when the knot frees up, when it's no longer a knot and just a solo free running string, you know, and when the derriere of the chicken is exposed, you're now wondering, why did I make that choice? So yeah, they borrowed the Obama mantra from 2008 when he first ran as president. Change is possible. Change, 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 change. And we saw change. We did see change. We are still living in that change. Almost 10 years later, from 2015, 10 years, we are still living in that change. I think the question we did not ask back then was, is the change good or bad? They promised us change. They never told us if it was good change or bad change, if it was going to be positive or negative. They just told us change. So it makes me ask the question, what is change? Why is it constant? I don't know if you're like me and a you went to a school where teachers were always comparing you to the sets before you, how you were always the worst set. Like, you're the worst set I've ever taught in my life. They say all these things you people are doing, you think this is where to end? Change is constant. They go on their motivational segue or just go off motivationally. Sir, you are being paid to teach me history. No, not really history. I mean, if they decide to wax motivational when teaching history, I mean, rightly so, you can. Or you're teaching me math. Stick to the formulas, please. Stop waxing motivation. We are the worst set. Thank you. Teach us math. Let our grades speak for itself. Let our grades, not morality, speak for itself. So yeah, why is it constant? When I think of constant, the first thing that came to mind when when I heard change is constant, I say, what does it mean to be? What does it mean by? What do you mean by change is constant? Is it that it is ever present or it is continuous? Think about it like when you're doing proportion in mathematics, there's k. K is a constant, which means it is ever present. K is k. It is ever present. So is it that it is a constant or it is constant? They say change is constant, meaning it is continuous. But is change not also a constant, meaning it is ever present? Do you get what I mean? And then at the same time, how can you identify that something has changed? What are the parameters? How will you look at something and say, oh yeah, it has changed? What are the parameters? These are just kind of the questions that roll in my head when I think about change. Let's say me, for example. Maybe you're wondering, before I even use myself as an example, maybe you're wondering why I'm always using myself as an example. One of the things I'm learning is to not generalize. And I consciously did not say one of the things I've learned or one of the things I learned. and I didn't use it in a past tense or past perfect tense. One of the things I'm learning, because I don't think that I'll ever stop until like I'm off this earth, because I have a tendency, maybe like you and the rest of us in this world, to want to generalize. That generalization thing is a way to give us comfort. It shields us from bearing our vulnerabilities in the public. I mean, yeah, that's okay. But sometimes you can make an egregious claim in the midst of your generalization and you would suffer for it. Or will I mean that's kind of how it is. So if I decide to bear my vulnerabilities, I'm not really, not even like I'm bearing any vulnerable thing. The internet is not really a safe space. If I'm being honest, it's not really. When people say, "Is this a safe space?" They're talking on the internet. I'm like, bro, it's not. Too. People are going to tear you apart. It's not. Well, anyway, that's what you have a community for, am I right? Yeah. So, what was I talking about? Yeah, myself as an example. So, I've been accused, and I don't know why I use accused. Accused is such a strong word, but I'll use it nonetheless. I've been accused of being a lot of things, a lot of negative things, and the allegations are not wrong. The allegations are emotionally avoidant. I've been accused of being emotionally distant. I've been accused of being I've been accused of gaslighting in the past. I've been accused of downright emotional manipulation, if you want to put it like that. And they were not wrong. I mean, in the moments of I did not see it. I absolutely did not see it. Your gaslighting, what do you mean? What does that mean? The only gaslighting I know is lighting gas. What do you mean I'm gaslighting you? And it was until I took a step back from what was the situation. I took a step back, and I think the first time I saw someone talk about gaslighting, I think I saw someone or I read up on it, one of the two. Like, what's this word that everybody's always using? What does it mean? You're putting someone in a position where they are doubting their ideas, they are doubting their values, their memory, they are doubting everything. You did something, and someone is doubting what you did, something they saw with their eyes, maybe even recorded with their phone. They are seeing the video and they still cannot believe themselves. They are going crazy, thinking that they're crazy. When I saw it, I said, "Oh, okay, I've definitely done this. Definitely have." Emotional avoidance, not really a conscious thing. It was more a self-defense thing, because I find that if I trust you, if I choose to trust you, I want to be as open as possible. People talk about um, introversion, extroversion. Cool. I think I'm an introvert. I took the MBTI test. I'm an INFJ. If you're wondering what that is, maybe you should take the test to MBTI. You can just search MB. Sorry if you're hearing a strange whistle. I don't. It's the neighborhood watch. Yeah, I'm recording this in the middle of the night. Anyway, yeah, I'm an INFJ, and basically the I is an introversion or an introvert. And people think that introverts have the tendency to want to be alone. It is true, but sometimes we want to be alone with people or with a person. And so when I want to share my thoughts and my feelings with you, and I'm met or I'm greeted with either mockery, or I'm greeted with a cruise. Basically, as Nigerians catch cruise a lot. Somebody could be on the internet saying, I'm going through this, and they're like, hey, yeah, but do and pass me, and the comment section becomes this train of cruise and laughter. And something that was meant to be a sober moment, everybody's now laughing under your comment section, and you're wondering, is this a skit? You're someone that likes to view the comment section, you go to the comment section and you're just seeing laughing emojis. You're like, is this a skit? What's going on? But it's not a skit, it's someone's reality. The point of all of this is, in all of the accusations and allegations, I took a step back and I said, okay, I was going to work on myself and whatnot. I was going to work on myself. I was going to do things. I was going to be more intentional about owning up and taking responsibility for my actions. When I met up with the person again after a while, I was like, things are different now. I've changed. The person uttered a statement that he haunted me for a very long time. He said, you can never change. You'll always be you. Now, what does that even mean? I'm telling you, I've changed. I'm no longer like, you can never change. And I sat with that for a very long time. I mean, I could have easily just said, get thee behind me, Satan. Because as a Christian, let's be frank, if you're making conscious efforts to do better, yes, you're blood washed, saved, sanctified by the blood of Jesus and by the sacrifice of Christ. You also want to take conscious and cautious steps to ensure that you work out your salvation. Not that you are saved by works, or works as a result of your salvation. And so when someone tells you that all these things you are doing are for your pocket, I know you can never change. You now wonder, what can I possibly do to convince you that I've changed? And it is because of that I've come to not quite a definitive conclusion, but a conclusion nonetheless, that what your definition of change is, or what my definition of change is, isn't what your definition of change is. Change looks different to people. And it begs another question. Is change objective or subjective? Is there objectivity to change? And in nature, yes. Think about molting, or in a more scientific term, in a more professional scientific way, ecdysis, ECDYSIS. Ecdysis is a process whereby animals shed their exoskeleton, or parts of their exoskeleton, what is called a chitin. So for something like a dung beetle or a ladybug, they have a chitin, CHITIN. It's a hard, I mean, when you step on it and it makes a crunchy sound, I mean, you're not supposed to. Sorry, if you're not Nigerian and you're listening to this, sorry. We typically kill insects. Anyway, when you step on it and hear that crunchy sound, that crunchy sound, to say, so to say, is what you call a chitin, CHITIN. And so they shed a part of that in a phase called molting or ecdysis. And so when they shed it and they come out, there's a new, not really new, but new, in quote, creature that emerges. Or the metamorphosis of a butterfly. And it goes from larva to pupa, and from pupa it goes into the caterpillar. From caterpillar it cocoons, and what was a slithering, wormy creature comes out with wings. I mean, the butterfly's metamorphosis is still one of the most breathtaking and phenomenally remarkable things I think that happens that God has ever done. That God has it's insane. I see something, guys, so girthy, so slimy, cocoons and then comes out with wings. That is pretty cool. I mean, that's the objectivity in change. There's an obvious, almost expected end. You can look at this and say, oh, there's change that has happened. But with human beings, change is more nuanced. So you hmm, uh I want to be cautious about I want to be cautious about bearing my affairs on the internet. So I'm not going to say what I wanted to say. Anyway, change is more nuanced. It is not it is not just oh as I'm saying change, I'm just thinking of Hollywood. I say Hollywood. No, Holly, Nolly, whichever one, whatever the wood is. Nigerian movies where the guy comes back after a long time and he says, Sharon, I've changed. Can't you see me? I'm a changed man. At the beginning of the movie, he in all those 2000s movies, at the beginning of the movie, he was wearing sunglasses. For some reason, guys who wore sunglasses were bad boys. I was wearing sunglasses, a fedora, was wearing jeans, low-rise jeans, maybe not even sagging completely. Was wearing Timberlands, and he had this funny, hey yo man, how you doing man? What's up man? Hey yo, hey yo, hey yo. Like, bro, really? And then he ditches all those things. He's now wearing a button-down shirt. It basically ditches that whole thing for a casual, maybe even wearing a three-piece suit in the hot Nigerian sun. To now make it worse, he's carrying. It's not worse, but in the movies, it's just bad. If that's how it is, everybody can feign change. He now carried one fat Bible. I said, can't you see? I'm a changed man. And this girl who was complaining that he's a bad boy, now he's a changed man. She's like, hey, I don't want to be a pastor. You know. Anyway, my point with all of this is change is constant, and change is a constant. Change is always it's almost, I want to say it's omnipresent, but it's inevitable. I think people have said it before. Change is like change is like Thanos in Infinity War, Avengers Infinity War. It is inevitable, you know. Yeah. So no matter where you run to on the face of the earth, change is waiting for you there. It is waiting for you there. What that means is a lot of things will happen that are within and without your control. So you step into a new country, you have to adjust to maybe racial profiling, you now have to adjust to the culture shocks and cultural differences. Maybe you have to adjust to change in language. All these things, there's a mixture of a lot of things. A lot of things can go either incredibly well, incredibly bad. That's change. And sometimes people tout change. People tout change as a bad thing. People tout change as a good thing. Change is change. Depends on how you're looking at it. Change is change. I mean, we live in a world that is more black and white than it wants to admit. The world tries to appeal to everybody that it's gray. Like, the world is not black and white. There are gray lines. Please. Of course they are. There are. But the world is more black and white than people want to admit. It's the reason why you have so many disparities. Why do you think about it? Why is there a ruling political party and an opposing party? Two. There is different wings in the American political landscape, left and right. Two. There is um what else? What else? Uh Maybe it's the rainbow community that wants to operate in that middle line. At the same time, there are different. They say one part it supports sexual orientation, while the other people are delusional too. So no matter how much you want to think that we operate in there's a gray area we operate in, people tend to lean to either extremes. And it's the same thing with change. We think that a person, do you know what? I said enough. Yeah, I said enough. I cannot convince you enough that I have changed until you desire to see it, until you choose to see it. So, what your standards of change is not what my standards of change is. Say, for example, you looked at somebody. So I thought I was going to spend the rest of my life with you. I can't spend the rest of my life with you, not with the kind of life you're living. And say it's a guy. The guy goes through this whole overhaul and glow up, finds Jesus. I mean, goes to church initially to find Jesus because of the girl, finds something more, finds this relationship with Jesus, and looks at this girl and is like, hey, I really ever wanted to get with you for your body. I really only wanted to get with you because of what I stood to gain. Now I see you as more than that. And maybe even start seeing her as a sister, as a sister in Christ. Now, if at the beginning of his journey, he goes to the girl and says, I've changed. The girl may be like, that's for you. You will never change. All you guys are the same, or you will always be the same. And he says, you know what? I'm gonna save my energy. As people say, I'll protect my peace. And then somewhere along the line, the girl utters the words he thought she would never utter. You really have changed. Change happens. And it is not entirely up to us to affect change or to cause change. Sometimes we have to live with it. And I'm not saying you have to put up with mediocrity, or I don't want to make this political. I'm not saying you have to put up with mediocrity on any level. On any level. I'm not saying that you have to put up with pardon my French, shithousery. I'm not saying that you have to put up with sin. I'm not saying you have to be lukewarm or say, oh, I'm going through a tough time in my devotion. This is part of the change. I can't affect it. I just have to live with it. I'm not telling you to condone anything evil in every sense of the word. I'm not telling you to be what's the word? Is it lax? Thank you, brain. I'm just saying that change happens. Sometimes it's within our control, sometimes it's without our control. And whether it's within or without, you have to live with it. Yeah. Thank you for listening. Flip the switch and illuminate. I'll see you on episode 100. Cheers.